I've never liked romanticizing starting over in another country. It's true that I've achieved a lot, but that whole journey has cost me a lot. And when we emigrate, yes, it's like there are a lot of things you can buy, a lot of stores, but more than that, more than being in a mall. Emigrating is a very difficult emotional burden, and some people have returned to their countries. Hello, hi everyone, how are you? And welcome back to my channel. I'm Anita Mateo, I'm from Cuba, and I live in Galicia. And well, subscribe, give it a like, and all those things that are free, they won't cost you anything. And let's get started, as you read in the title, with today's video topic. Well, today I want to talk about a topic that, in fact, I left a question sticker on Instagram so you could ask me things. And one of the things I was asked, and I thought I might as well make a video giving my opinion about it, is what I think about some people who, after emigrating and going through all the struggles to leave Cuba, which if you don't know, now you know. Leaving Cuba is a real challenge. It's very difficult. It's an investment of time, money, and so on, and yet there are people who are going back. A certain girl's case went viral. I won't say anything negative about her. I actually know her and sometimes talk to her on social media. And I've seen that a lot of people criticized her, but I want to say that I'm not going to criticize her decision because everyone knows why they do things. I'll consider both sides of emigrating, since some people move forward while others may choose to return to Cuba despite the current situation. And well, let's talk from the most realistic perspective possible. And it's something I want to tell you. We Cubans, the people who were born in Cuba, let's talk about Cuba because that's the case I know. I don't know anyone from Venezuela, although I have seen people who have returned from Spain to Venezuela, people who have returned from other countries like the United States or Spain, and in this girl's case, Costa Rica, all of that. They returned to Cuba, even spending a lot to make the trip. You just think, how can you go back? Are you crazy? But well, let's see. In Cuba, when we're born, we have just one purpose, and that's to leave Cuba. Those of us born there, after living through the countless hardships people face in Cuba. Many times when we become aware of how serious the situation in our country is, that we're not going to prosper. In our country, things won't go well for us, we won't be happy. That's when we decide to leave. So that's like a goal we have in our minds all the time. All the time, all the time. What happens? That goal is like all our energy and everything we have is focused. I'm talking about my case on leaving there. But once you leave Cuba, you've already achieved that goal. So what's next? Now, in your mind, it's just you. What are you going to do with your life? It's no longer about having to leave the country and thinking about what you'll do with your life. Now you're in a new country, starting from scratch with nothing. If you were an engineer in Cuba, but in this new country you won't be an engineer, you'll be nobody. Now you're alone, wondering what to do. And I think that overwhelms a lot of us because it's like a new life, a new purpose. Sometimes we don't know how to face that kind of situation, and we romanticize emigrating too much. We think we're going to leave and that's it. All our problems will be over because it's true. We'll still be able to get food because the supermarket will be full, there will be medicine, there will be things. But of course, for that you need money, and to have money you need to work. And that whole process of starting from scratch is quite complicated, and maybe a lot of people aren't ready for this. Or what affects them isn't just whether they work or not, but also that you're nobody now. Now you have to find a new identity, a new job. Maybe you were a doctor in your country, but now work in a supermarket, which can affect many people. And another thing is that a lot of people in Cuba think that if you left, you already have money, you're a millionaire, you've got your life sorted out. And it's not like that, because you show the nice part, the trips, a little treat you give yourself after work, meeting up with your friends, things that are a luxury to do in Cuba, but here are totally normal. But what people don't see are all the nights you might spend crying, with anxiety, when you miss your family. And that's also a part we're going to talk about in this video. And well, I think today's video specifically touches on something very important in mental health. It's about facing major life changes when you emigrate and knowing how to handle them, since you must be aware that your life will change and won't be the same as before. I'm here again to talk about my sponsor, BetterHelp, which is already a trusted name on this channel and something we've talked about before. Many of us feel pressured for everything to go well. When we emigrate or move to another country, we expect things to work out, but that's not always the case. Have you ever felt like you can't fail and need to prove to others that everything is finally going perfectly for you? It takes a long time and people aren't ready for the big changes that come with moving to another country. Some people might give up and return to Cuba or their home country. I've experienced times when I felt like I wasn't making enough progress too. Although I seem accomplished, there are many things I haven't achieved and thoughts in my mind that say things should be different. So if you need to ask for help or talk about these kinds of things with someone, don't be afraid to go to therapy. It's going to help you a lot. That's why I'm mentioning BetterHelp again. BetterHelp provides online therapy with licensed psychologists, offering support throughout your journey. It all begins with a short questionnaire to assess how you feel. This helps match you with a psychologist suited to your preferences and needs. If you ever feel you don't connect with this psychologist and want a different one, you can switch at no extra cost. You can have sessions by video call, phone call, or chat, whichever is most comfortable for you, wherever you are. For example, I like doing it right here at night to relax before going to sleep without rigid schedules depending on your routine. Going to therapy has really helped me by giving me a place to talk and vent. And also they explain a lot about your behaviors, the root of your thoughts, where they come from, because sometimes there are things you keep to yourself that you don't even like to talk about with friends or family. So, if you want to start trying BetterHelp, I'm going to leave a link down below in the description box and in the pinned comment, where you'll get 10% off your first month with BetterHelp using my link, an offer valid for new users of the platform. My position depends on the circumstances, but as a Cuban woman who has migrated and lived abroad for 3 years, I want that to be clear. I've been through tough times, but never would I ever think of going back to Cuba. For me, freedom is not negotiable. Living in freedom is priceless. And it's true that sometimes there's a big emotional cost because of starting from scratch, but personally, I wouldn't go back. Another important point, and this is one of the things that affects me the most, at least personally, it's nostalgia. You realize that nostalgia is much stronger than you think once you emigrate, because you don't just miss a country. I, at least personally, can tell you that I don't miss Cuba. I don't miss what Cuba means or the life I had in Cuba. I mean, the part about needs, hunger, scarcity, all of that, I don't miss it. What you really miss is your family, your friends, the little things, you know? Those little things that you know will never be the same again. I miss my grandmother's house, waking up every morning and having my grandmother prepare my milk. You miss places, you miss celebrating special occasions, a Mother's Day when you won't be with your mom anymore. Sometimes you spend birthdays completely alone because even if you have friends, everyone here has a more complicated life. Maybe, for example, now in the summer it's my birthday, and in the summer my best friend works in hospitality and works on weekends. So last year, for example, my birthday was on a weekend and I didn't really do anything special because I could hardly get my friends together. And I've spent birthday nights completely alone, and you feel kind of sad because you know that maybe in your country it would have been completely different. It's not about being able to throw a huge party in your country, but about having your friends and the customs and traditions you've built over your life. Some people move on. I sometimes feel nostalgic about certain things now, but I felt it much more at first. I feel like now that I've settled down here in Spain, I already have my little house. I feel like I'm slowly building something that's mine. And I feel that the more I consider Galicia and Spain in general as my home, the less nostalgia I feel, although the nostalgia will always be there, always, forever. I'm gonna miss some things that unfortunately I can't have anymore, like having the whole family together, right? I think that happens to all of us as human beings, but, well, another point to understand is that not everyone experiences migration in the same way because each of us has a different personality. And there's different ways of seeing life. We look for different things. In my case, in Spain, I was simply looking for peace, for tranquility, to have the basics, but I wasn't trying to be a millionaire, you know? There are people who migrate and say, well, I'm going to be a millionaire. But to be a millionaire, you have to work and a lot of time has to pass. There are people who achieve it and people who don't, but those who don't are still great, right? That's pretty difficult. I didn't come with that mindset. I didn't migrate with that mindset. I migrated with the mindset of having stability. Stability means being in a country where I feel calm, I feel free, I have food in my fridge, I have electricity, and of course later on you can aspire to many more things. There are people who are extremely adaptable, who adapt really quickly to places, but then there are others who don't. There are people who find it very hard to change, their routine. It's really hard for them, and that's what I was saying earlier. I have the basics here, but now I want something more. Like, what else can I do with my time? I would say these are first world problems. I already have food, I already have electricity, I already have the basics, so now what do I do? Now it's just me struggling with myself and my personal goals. And sometimes you can get really frustrated too. You get frustrated because you want to make the most of your time, to make the most of the opportunities this country gives you. And you tend to get a little frustrated when you don't achieve things. For example, I didn't manage to get my driver's license because I failed the written test, and I got really frustrated. And I would say to myself, Anita, but in Cuba, you never even thought you'd have the chance to own a car, and here you do. Take things a little more calmly, more or less. I've been training my mind to go step by step, little by little, but not everyone adapts in the same way. There are people who leave and think that in a month they're going to achieve everything. They're going to have it all. They're going to have their immigration status sorted out. They're going to have a house. They're going to have a car. And the truth is, that's not how it is. We need to realize it's a gradual process and you shouldn't get frustrated too quickly. And another thing is that human beings need to have roots. They need a place to belong. When we're in the country where we were born, it's much easier to create those roots. And you already belong there. You already have your lifelong friends, your neighbors, your contacts. Contacts are important too. You move to another country, you start from scratch, you're nobody. Some people are lucky, like me. I have to say I have the privilege of having my best friend here, and she's someone I can confide in. You need to let off steam, but a lot of people write to me and tell me they don't have friends, they don't have anyone to meet up with, they don't have anyone to talk to when they have a problem. And that also really affects you when you emigrate. We don't have roots, a group of friends to belong to, sometimes someone we can talk to. And when you're an adult, it's much harder to make friends than when you're a child, because we don't spend. I didn't study here in Spain. I don't know people from here. The people I've met here in Spain are people who reached out to me on social media. I've found that they're good people, that I like them, and that's how I've made a lot of friends. But I also have my friend from Cuba, which is an extra bonus. But I have to admit that if I didn't have friends, I would be having a much harder time. And well, even so, with all these things that happen to us, feeling sad when we emigrate or thinking about the idea of wanting to go back, even so, I feel, at least in my situation and with my life experience, that I wouldn't go back to Cuba. I wouldn't go back to Cuba. I mean, I felt bad, I've cried and all that, but I wouldn't go back because here I am in a free country, and here. In just 3 years, I've achieved so many things that in the 26 years I lived in Cuba, I never achieved. And I was never going to achieve them either because Cuba is getting worse. I mean, right now there are a lot of news reports saying there's going to be a change, but we don't know when that change will happen. And even if there is a change, I think it's going to take many years for the country to actually become a real country. And that's if things get better, because we don't know what's going to happen. Well, here I am with Tai, who is my friend. I don't know if you remember her. Many of you ask me about her all the time. But anyway, Tai.
I'm still alive.
Tai is a mom. Do you want to cover the baby's face? It's showing. Tai is a mom now, and she doesn't have as much time to create content. But Tai just got back from Cuba this week, where she went to pick up her grandparents, and they were the last family you had left in Cuba, right? Yes.
Well, horrible.
Your experience was so bad?
Everything went wrong, but I must admit something, and I'm grateful for the chance to say it here. Yes, the government is very much to blame. It's obvious that most of the blame lies with the government. But do Cubans themselves also take advantage of other Cubans? And instead of helping each other, uniting, and trying to get through it together, don't they just take advantage of one another? And that was really sad to see. For example, I know that the issue with people who get paid to hold places in line has existed for a long time, but
The coleros earn money by standing in line for others?
charge you to hold your place in line. I say that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, and it exists there because we allow it. So, this thing about the coleros seems surreal to me because, like I said, it doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, but it exists in Cuba because Cubans allow it. Because if I ask you who's last, and you say me, and then you say I'm here with 5 people, and I tell you, look, I'm sorry, you're not here with 5 people, it's just you, period. And if I don't allow it, and the next person doesn't allow it, and nobody allows it, I'm sure that could end. But of course, it's a business. Here's what I think. It's a Cuban exploiting another Cuban. To me, that's just surreal.
Did that happen to you personally in Havana?
Of course, it happened to me at the consulate because I arrived on Wednesday night. On Thursday, I had to pick up my grandparents' passports with their visas, and on Fridays, they don't hand out passports. Passports are only given out Monday to Thursday, and since we were leaving Saturday, if I hadn't picked them up Thursday, I would have been lost. And the taxi driver asked me what time I was going to get in line, and I told him, well, if it starts at 9, I'll go at 8, and he told me no, that I had to be there super early. And of course, since I'm used to the schedule here, I got up at 4 in the morning and went down at 5, and in the line, there weren't many people, there were only about 5 or 6 people, that's all. And at 9 in the morning, when the line forms to pick up the receipt, the document, there were about 30 people ahead of me. And of course, they don't take care of everyone. They only take care of about 60 or 70 people. But if each of those people has 2 or 3 claim slips, am I at risk? They're the ones who
Save a spot for a family member who is...
They're charging for that. They actually charge for that. I got angry and said I'd call the police, but someone behind me told me not to because the police wouldn't do anything. When the consulate guy arrived, I pointed out who wasn't in line and he removed them. That's exactly what happened. I told him who wasn't in line and he started taking them out. I then lived in fear they might do something to me. But it's actually the Cuban people who do that, and I think that's wrong. But they do it like that in the line at the consulate and everywhere, in the line for food, in lines anywhere, at stores. Well, now they're not MLC anymore. I don't know how they are now, but in those places when they bring out the chicken, when they bring things out. And what that does is make the prices of things go up. The medicines themselves are something that's a necessity, but they sell them at a markup. And it's the Cuban people themselves who sell them, not the government. So I say yes, the government is very much to blame, but so are the Cuban people.
Let's see, so now you have, for example, I'm talking about the topic of the video. It's about a girl who returned to Cuba. What reasons do you think someone might have to return to Cuba after experiencing freedom, considering all these experiences and all these realities of Cuba that we all know?
Okay, look, I think I just told you, when it comes to Cubans here, I think some people may get offended, but it's really not my intention to offend anyone. And I'm one of those people who thinks that if I say something and it offends you, it's because it represents you. So Cubans are used to not working, they're used to living the way people live in Cuba. When it comes to hustles, well, this simple thing of standing in line, those people have told me that they leave with 40,000, 50,000 pesos a day just for holding a spot in line. I mean, that's something you won't do anywhere else in the world. You can go wherever you want and you won't be able to do that. So are Cubans used to living off hustles? Not everyone, obviously, because there are many Cubans who come here who are very hardworking and have moved forward and succeeded. Well, you're an example of that. I think I am too, but most people are used to living off hustles and not working. So they come to a country where you can't live off hustles. Because here, if you don't pay your rent, well, they kick you out of your apartment. If you don't have money for food, then you starve. That's how it is, right? So they come to these countries where you really have to work a full 8-hour day, no matter what it is. All jobs are hard, and I don't think they can handle that pressure. If something goes wrong the first time, they already get frustrated.
I think I was saying too, like at first you think you're going to arrive and you'll already be a millionaire. The next day, a lot of things too. There are also a lot of Cubans, yes. Bad things, and you have to have a lot of resilience, but I think it's hard to imagine giving up your freedom.
Many people arrive, and for example, you won't post all your failures. I've had failures too, but I won't share them publicly.
People post the nice things and they believe everything. They idealize life abroad. I think we have a very idealized view of life in another country. It's like everyone else only shows their achievements. And we say, wow, I'm gonna go there and the same thing will happen to me. But it's not like that, because for most people, it's really hard to achieve things. And you're starting from scratch because it really depends on your immigration status, the job you have, it varies a lot.
You might not know how to live life here, which often pushes you to spend, and sometimes you just don't know how. You have to have a very clear goal, and that's what I say. People don't post their failures, but we've had them too. We've had many failures, and before getting to where we are today, a lot has happened. Many of those things aren't discussed.
You wouldn't return to Cuba even for money?
Obviously, no, me neither.
I understand that something must have happened to the people who left, something must have happened to them, but I think the same. It's a path that demands resilience, where you have to stand firm, but you can't compromise. Being in a free country and going back to a dictatorship just doesn't make sense, because what kind of future are you going to have there? Maybe you weren't ready to emigrate at that moment and you went back because you had some emotional issue. I don't know, but how do you see a future in Cuba? You can't imagine it. Every day things get worse.
Of course, it's just that. No, there's nothing. Because it's like you said, it's not about change. It's obvious that there will be a change. But when that change happens, how much time will pass? Until the country has, well, an infrastructure, until it has an economy, until it has something, 20, 30 years. No, many years. No, I don't know if it's...
With that exactness, but many years, I don't even... Even if Cuba changed its government, I wouldn't return right away. I have stability here and worked hard for what I have. It didn't happen overnight. But I wouldn't go back for anything in the world.
No, I wouldn't go back either. Even less so now since I have my whole family.
You even brought your grandparents who are elderly and they took the risk to come and start from scratch here?
Yes, that's very sad because, they're in their 70s and they asked me. A lot of people ask me, well, my own coworkers, how's everything? How was the trip? They brought a lot of things. And I say it's not like they just brought a bag. They came with nothing. They brought a bag. And I say 70 years fit into a bag.
Everyone has different experiences, but the important thing is to know that you're going to move forward in a free country, and that's really worth it. Bye-bye.